I'm Arya Schwartz alongside Madison Cunningham, and welcome to the Winsidr Show where it's all about the W. With 8 playoff teams all but set, it's time to really get into the final stretch of the season and the playoff season seeding. Let's cut to the basket. Before we get into today's show, just a quick reminder, Winsidr is a fully independent WNBA news site covering everything. It's supported by listeners like you. If you enjoy what we're doing here, you can help keep it going by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Winsidr. With pricing levels for everyone, you directly show support for the work we put into covering the W year round. We also have a great team producing great written coverage at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com, plus more content than ever across TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter /X, and YouTube. And finally, if you're in the market for WNBA gear, check the affiliate links in the show notes and on winsidr.com. You rep the league, and Winsidr gets a little support along the way. Welcome back to the show. Excited to be here with Madison. We got lots to discuss. But before we get into today's episode, we have to give some flowers. We got to give some love to a legend who, yes, retired, has been out of the game for a season and change now, I guess, or past a season and a half, basically 2 seasons at this point. Diana Taurasi finally got her jersey retirement, and it really felt like the franchise went all out for her. Makes sense. And maybe this is like the devil in me that I'm just like, every time that the Mercury go above and beyond with these things, I feel like it is a pitch to other players of, look how we treat our legends, look how we treat them. But so, there was activations around the arena. One of my favorite things ever is shot chart activations, when there's interactive aspects of a player's shot chart, whether it's Paige's or Caitlin's, or the Diana Taurasi one of her whole career was probably the cool, or I saw one for Sue Bird also. Some of the coolest graphics, or I don't know, videograph, whatever the hell you call it. Just really cool content being created with that. They had 20 former teammates and other random guests and legends. They had the tribute. They had gifts. And honestly, like, let's be real. She's a legend of the game. She truly changed women's basketball, changed the trajectory of the league. Personally, for me, like, I grew up a Lynx fan. I was not the biggest Diana Taurasi fan. But seeing her, we always had that respect in the Minnesota fan base. But then when I switched over to media, seeing her and the aura around her, it was truly, truly special. I'll never forget my first time like interviewing her post game. And like, you see her be Diana Taurasi on TV or whatever, but she is truly that. She just does her own thing. She has that swag about her. And like, the only thing I can say, and I'm not even saying this in a try and be hip and like use, like modern language or whatever, but like, she truly has an aura about her that like, you start talking to her and you get that sense of greatness coming off of her and that confidence that she exudes. Do you have any Diana Taurasi memory that pops into your head, whether it's hitting a crazy shot on your favorite team, or threatening to meet a player or a referee in the lobby? Any Diana Taurasi memories that kind of stick out to you?
Yeah, for me, I'm just thinking about in 2021, one of like, I guess the first Liberty game that I went to after, COVID. I think this is my first time seeing them in Barclays, because like I had seen them when I was younger in MSG like a while ago. But I went for a Mercury game, and it was DT, BG. Like, I was really excited, just like legends of our game. Um,
Truly.
and it was just so cool to see her so up close. Like, that was far before I even thought about doing any media or anything. Yeah, that was just a really cool moment, just to be able to see her and bask in the presence. And like you said, yeah, there just is that aura around her on and off the court. So that was really cool.
It's truly, I'll never forget. Like, I asked her something about, and I like listed her accolades, and this was, I want to say, like probably like 2017 or something, and I list, or maybe 2018. I'm listing like her accolades, and I like made some comment of like, many call you the greatest of all time or something, and like, the way she so quickly caught me and was like, no, that's why I am the greatest. Like, the way, like, just like, she's just cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, cool. So let's talk current because, she's retired. She's an old head. Doesn't matter anymore. Let's talk about what's happening now. Mercury not in the playoffs. We got Minnesota, Las Vegas Aces, Golden State Valkyries, Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, New York Liberty, Washington Mystics, and Dallas Wings. Those 8 teams seem to be set. At this point, the gap between those teams and anybody else is far too much for any realistic climbing out of that. Granted, multiple teams have not clinched playoffs yet and not been eliminated, but it's pretty much all set. So let's discuss. I mean, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. This is going to be a fun episode for people who are prepping for the playoffs, which I think we finally can do. We'll talk about playoff stocks. We'll talk about, why this team can win and why that team can't. But before we do that, as of today, let me lay out for you what the matchups would be for the first round. Just a reminder, first round, best of 3, second round, best of 5, finals, best of 7. So let's run it down. If the playoffs started today, Minnesota with the 1 seed would be taking on Dallas. Golden State would be taking on DC. Las Vegas would be taking on New York. And Indiana would be taking on Atlanta. When you look at that, I'm curious for you, is there a matchup that you think is just that's a sweep? Is there a matchup that you're like, ooh, I could see either team winning? Because I said this before we started recording. I'll tell you, like, there's a couple I'm not going to say specifics yet. I don't want to, bury the lead, but there's a few matchups that I'm like, that's really nice for this lower seeded team. Oh, that's going to be a really must-see TV matchup. Or, ooh, yeah, I think you're getting swept. What kind of, when you look at this and your mind the wheels start turning, what's in your head?
Yeah, first of all, it would be amazing to watch. I think just in general, all these matchups have potential to be like, must see. I think what I'm thinking about, I think this is almost worst case scenario for the Valkyries. Even though they have beat the Mystics, but that game was really ugly. And I'm just thinking the way that the Valkyries are built is that their bigs are kind of the area that they have struggled the most this season. And obviously DC is a team powered by their like Shakira Austin, Kiki, and Sonia Citron. So I could see that really shaking some things up. I think the Valkyries obviously are capable of beating DC because they have, but DC was also the team, I'm pretty sure, that broke the Valkyries 8-game or 9-game win streak. So that would be interesting. Dallas and Minnesota, as of right now, I would say I'm pretty solidly like predicting that Minnesota would probably maybe sweep that. I think they could sweep that for sure. Yeah,
I'm on the sweep. If you're Minnesota and you're looking at these 7 teams, and correct me if you disagree with me, I just feel like if there's any team they want to play in the first round, it's Dallas. It's not, you're not going to sleep on them. First of all, let's talk about storylines. Paige going to Minnesota to take on the team she grew up watching, inspired her to play. Minnesota taking on a bunch of former, roster teammate. I don't know what the former players used to be on their team. The storyline there is great. But yeah, I gotta say, like, I think if that's what's happening, we're talking about Minnesota sweeping that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and in Vegas and New York, always interesting, always a classic. I think obviously if you're just looking at record and how they're playing, you would think that this would be a pretty easy matchup for Vegas. But like we said many times, this New York roster is kind of built for like to be the Vegas killer. And they've done that. I think they're 2-1 in the season series. Now, one of those games, the big 3 was out. You can't really count that. But the Commissioner's Cup, or maybe they're 3-0. I don't know.
We got 4. We got 4 games. I'm looking this up right now. We got 4 games. August. No, that is wrong because sorry. August, July 30th, June 30th, and June 22nd were the 4 games. Obviously, one of those Commissioner Cup. New York takes game 1, 111-71. Aces take the July. I'm not even going in order. I'm going whatever. Liberty lose 99-104. So that's 1-1. Then Liberty take the June 30th game 93-85, and Liberty take 87-76 on June 23rd. So Liberty do have the 3-1, including the Com Cup in that.
Yeah, and that's like we talked about so many times, like that is just must-see TV. Asia, Stewie, like I'm sure everyone will be tuned in for that either way. And it really could go either way. That would be like a really devastating matchup to have round one, just because those are like teams that you want to see deeper. You want to see both of them go deeper, but it would be interesting to see them. And then Indiana, Atlanta, that's obviously, a lot of headlines, a lot of hype around that one. I think that would also be a pretty evenly matched. Like I could really see that one going either way. I definitely think it'll go to all three. I don't see either team necessarily sweeping that. I mean, it really depends because, like we said a lot of times, Atlanta has been pretty inconsistent this year. So if they're playing at their best, I could see this going to three, either one taking it. But it also could very well be a fever like sweep.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm looking at these and I'm like, look, Minnesota, Dallas, I'm expecting that to just be a sweep. Like that's where I'm at in this season. Dallas has gotten worse and worse and worse, and there is no sign of them righting ship. Golden State versus DC, I think you hit that perfectly. It's intriguing and almost like I would even say, like, look, DC, you can want any team. Like if I'm DC, you're playing with house money almost. You feel confident that you can play against anybody. Yes, they lost the season series. Honestly, one of the lowest scoring games from the season, just 49 points, July 6th. They lost 62-49. Valkyries win again, 74-69. And then Mystics take the most recent game. The one thing I will say is, like, I do think DC has gotten better as the season went on. And Golden State, I think, has stayed pretty consistent. I think DC has been a slow growth that has gotten much better as the season goes on because, you have players like Shakira Austin, who has been growing and has gotten so much better over the last handful of years, but just hasn't been healthy enough to play. And now we're seeing a full season of that, and we're seeing that possible potential. Like I don't feel like I'm being crazy saying Shakira Austin, to me at least, has that MVP quality play to her. That like physicality mixed with athleticism, mixed with domination and aggression that you don't see often in a lot of players. And I often will throw some shade, maybe some will take it that way, at Golden State for not necessarily having that MVP caliber player, maybe even also Atlanta. But when I look at DC, some people will be like, well, what about DC? I think Shakira is that player with that it. So I think that would be a great one. I see that going 3. Las Vegas, New York. I mean, that would just be that, like, I see it going 3, but also, like, call me crazy, I could also see New York taking them in 2. I think that's ridiculous, just in the sense of, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, of how good Asia Wilson is and how good these aces are in playoffs. There is a difference between beating this team in the regular season and beating them in the playoffs, even if your roster is constructed for that. And also, we'll get into New York a little bit more. Indy, Atlanta. I how do I say this respectfully? I feel like this Atlanta season's a disappointment. We saw early on in the season some impressive showings from them, some consistency, but then it just feels like we're not even talking about them because they haven't shown anything that would make us discussion worthy of them. It's, blowing leads late in games, dominating for a quarter, then disappearing for another quarter. And like, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Fever have been so much better in a consistency sense, but it feels like throughout the season, the Fever have, even at their worst times, been slowly trending up. Yes, they'll have a dip, but they continue to trend up. In Atlanta, it has been a roller coaster of up and down and up and down. And I don't know. We'll see. Any other final thoughts on those matchups?
I also think Vegas, New York will depend heavily on if Fibich is back by then.
Great call.
Because she, as has been shown in these past few games, she really anchors that defense. I mean, obviously Stewie, defensive player of the year, caliber player. She's a great defender. But as we've seen in the past few games, like Fibich is also a key part of that defense. So that will, she really should be back by then. If she's not, then something is terribly wrong. But that will also, I think, depend a lot on that.
Yeah, and look, it's kind of crazy because you look at this roster that has so much star power. Now, obviously, Satu stepping away for a little bit is a huge blow to this team. But also like we haven't seen consistency where adding Satu is going to make, I would say, either of us go, oh, now the problems are solved, because you're adding in a player who hasn't had that time to gel in yet and has been in and out and in and out. So it's a little bit harder. But obviously nobody wants any player to be sitting out or hurt. But Fibic is a player, honestly, I think a lot of people have forgotten about. And maybe it's because she's an overseas player who's been injured a lot this year. Maybe it's just because, the Liberty have not been gaining the headlines for positive things very much this season. I don't know what it is, but that is a great call that I personally almost forgot about. That is an extremely important aspect of this season for the New York Liberty. Okay, so getting into playoff stock. Before we talk about one thing that could kill each playoff team or make them win it all, I want to talk about playoff stocks, teams. We'll start with teams and then we'll move on to players. So playoff stock, the teams that I feel like are rising in this moment, obviously you got to say Minnesota. You get, feedback. They're finding more of a flow. There's still some concerns that we'll talk about in a little bit, but you get feedback. The defense is looking better, which has been the biggest concern. So, yeah, you're the number one team, but I feel like their stock is going up. There's a few other teams on my mind. What's a team on your mind that stock is going up at this time, which is the ideal time for your stock to be going up?
Yeah, like you briefly mentioned earlier, I think DC, like the Mystics, I think at the beginning of the year, like towards the middle, it was like this is a fun young team that could shake something up, but you know, inexperience, all those things. But they've shown over these past few weeks that they are a real threat. I think they are like the only team this season to have, there's like some stat where they were like the only team to have beaten all the top teams or something like that. Like they have taken on a bunch of the top teams with confidence, and they have done it and they have taken them down. I think they could really, like, I think first round, yes, they could definitely do that, especially if it's against the Valkyries, like we said. But like second, I don't think it stops there. I'm not saying it's realistic that they go to the finals or anything like that, but like I wouldn't be shocked if they made a deeper run than anyone was expecting going into this season.
I'm very much with you on that. I think, like, this is not a team that I am going to sit there and go, I pick against them because of the youth. And
Mhm.
I say that because I think there's some teams that really skilled, really powerful, for instance, Indiana the past few years, where I'm like, oh, you have this young power, this, really skilled young players, but I don't trust you in the playoffs because I think the big moment will be too much for you. The confidence and the vibes of this team, I think, are set for the playoffs. That said, I don't think we're talking about a finals team. I think they still need a little bit more to get over that hump, but I would not be surprised to see them getting upset, move on to the second round, win a game, and then lose 2-1. That would not, or 3-1, sorry. That wouldn't shock me at all. I'm completely with you on that. Um, and obviously, I think Indiana is a team also that has really been trending up, stock going up as of now. But I will say, and we'll get into this in a moment, there is a huge, huge Achilles heel for this team. Okay, two teams or one team, whatever, in your mind that the stock is just dropping, dropping, dropping. Um, I'm going to go on a whole season approach and go with Atlanta, where I just think I, I look, I can spend, and I plan to do this over like the last few games of the season, is to truly try and zone in on this team and hone in on these playoff teams. But I'm honestly at a loss for words at, what's going on in Atlanta and why they have this inability. You have two elite guard defenders. You have a point guard who's not making mistakes, not turning the ball over at a high clip. You have one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rebounder in league history. Um, you have the offensive firepower. I don't know. There's just something off, something that is really bothering me about the inconsistencies of Atlanta. And so, yeah, for me, this is a team that I day in and day out continue to lose hope, or I guess stock in. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'd also have to say Dallas, like we said before. I mean, a few weeks ago they were 4th in the standings. So like from a literal standpoint, they are dropping and they're dropping fast. And also just like the eye test. It also just it looks worse. Obviously, AZ's out. Jess Shepard has missed some time, but it's just something's not clicking. Obviously, Paige has been in a slump, which is expected. She's a young player still. I'm sure she'll get back to that MVP caliber level of play. She already has been getting better than than she was a week ago. But yeah, I don't have very much faith in this team that they could make a deep run. Um, yeah, like a few weeks ago, they were being looked at as a potential contender. Now, I don't know if I ever was there, but if I ever was there, I'm definitely not there now. Um, so yeah, I'd say Dallas.
Yeah, no, I'm yeah, very much with you on that. Okay, moving on. Players with the stock rising right now, I'm going Nia Coffee. Nia Coffee had a ginormous game against the Las Vegas Aces that blew my mind, if I'm being honest. Mostly in her ability to literally cover everybody on the Las Vegas Aces roster. She was going from Chelsea Gray to Asia. She was going from Jackie to Jewel. She was going from like Melissa back to Jewel or back to Jackie or back to Chelsea and doing it at an elite level. When the defense was struggling, it felt like, okay, throw her in and do what she can do. And look, she was somebody who started on this team, was a key part of them being the number one team on or in the league throughout the whole season. Fee comes back, gets moved to the bench. And I think it took a couple games. There was some success, some failures. I don't want to say failures, but some ups and downs early in that move, I think. But now she has definitely found her footing and is really finding success of recently. So she's somebody who, for me, I feel like that stock is definitely going up. Anybody on your mind about stock rising?
Yeah, on a similar defensive note, I'd have to say Kia Stokes, who I don't think is getting enough attention. And I saw a tweet the other day that she like by numbers is the best, I think, pick and roll defender in the league
I
this
saw
year.
that too.
Yeah, and I mean, Kia Stokes has been like we said, like I said, the Valkyries, their one problem is down low. And Kia Stokes is the only I guess hope that the Valkyries could ever beat the Mystics, right? Like no one else on that team is big enough, is really equipped to guard the paint like Kia Stokes is, and she is doing it at an amazing level, and she's doing it so often that yeah, she obviously Gabby Williams, one of the best defenders in the league, but in that way, Kia Stokes is really anchoring that defense in a way that will be like imperative come playoff time.
Yeah. Honestly, not enough attention for Kia Stokes, and honestly, not enough talk about just that move this offseason. Stokes leaving Vegas, excuse me. Honestly, such a great move for both sides.
Mhm.
Vegas needed to move on, and all the props to Kia Stokes and what she was able to do, winning rings in Las Vegas, took a lot of flack, took a lot of hate from the fan base, from a lot of people, and I threw shade also at struggles that she was having when she was on Vegas. Like, I'm not trying to avoid it and be like, oh, what, um, but the shift over to Golden State, a resurgence in the career, which seems odd to say after winning multiple rings, but the output that we're seeing, the stats, the play, the eye test has been so impressive. We have not talked about it enough. Media hasn't, fan base hasn't. So I love that you're bringing that up.
Also,
Yeah.
sorry, just to clarify,
Uh,
she's not. It wasn't pick and roll. She is number one in field goal percentage allowed in the paint. Only allowing 40% of shots in the paint, and
wow.
she's also number two in points allowed as the screener defender in pick and rolls behind Lauren Betts at 0.78 per
Wow.
possession.
Wow. And was that Nikias who dropped that?
Yes.
Give a shout out. Amazing work. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. And then I like, yes, the minutes maybe aren't there. I think she's teetering around like 22, 25 minutes a game. So maybe that will knock her for a defensive player of the year award or all defensive award or something like that. But I think there's a great discussion to be had on that. Also, at some point we're going to have to, in the next couple of weeks, do the whole yearly award debate and discussion, because I really want to have it. I want to there's so much to discuss. All right. Players whose stocks are dropping. I was going into this and I was going to say Enrique, but the player that I'm actually going with is Jewel Lloyd, because maybe I pick Enrique too much to be, the butt of my jokes on this. But Jewel Lloyd, now, great job only starting 3 games this season, moving to the bench, accepting that role, still playing a similar amount of minutes to last year. But last year, we were talking about maybe a disappointing season for Jewel Lloyd in Las Vegas. Yes, they end up winning it. It all works out. She hit some big shots when it's important. But this season, her numbers in every way, shape, or form have dropped. Her points per game, her rebounds per game, steals per game, blocks per game. I guess turnovers also went down a little bit, so that's a good thing. But shooting percentage went down. 3-point percentage went down a nice amount in 3-point percentage, which is concerning when that's a huge role for her. And even free throw percentage is going down, and fouls are up per game. So for me, as a player who's going to be key in this deep playoff run for Vegas, I see Vegas as a team that like I said earlier, there's regular season, then there's playoff. So I got her. What about you? Who's your player whose stock is dropping?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I feel like this is, I don't know, like a specific player, but I think just in general, like the Atlanta kind of guard combo, just like we talked about with the inconsistency and just like sometimes the ability to put the ball on the floor, put the ball in the hoop when it's needed. I think in general, like obviously, I think Ryan and Alicia have had some great performances recently, and in a season perspective, they are still amazing, still all-star level players. But I think especially playoff stock, like you said, I'm a little less convinced that they can come into the playoffs and take over a series the way that 2 all-star guards should. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard, but yeah.
No, I'm with you on that. All right. One thing that could kill each playoff team or cause them to win it all. We're running long, so we're not going to go like crazy in depth in all of this. So I'll list it for me. The links, it's defense. That if they don't play good defense, that's gonna crush them. And the reason they're gonna win it all is because they've been the best team all year long. What about you?
Yeah, I think I mean, I agree for sure. Like you said, the defense, they have had some defensive highs this season, but we've also seen when it struggled. And like you said, they have Olivia Miles, they have Nafisa Collier. I think they should win it all.
Moving on. Side note, I hope no one gets mad at me for this. Natasha Howard calling her Nafisia in like multiple interviews is the funniest thing ever to me, for her to like be her teammate and like one of the best players in the world, and then whatever. All right. Las Vegas Aces, I'm gonna say the reason they won't win it all is because of other players' reliancy on Asia. And then the reason they will win it all is because the Aces in Asia turn it on to a different game come playoff time. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The reason they will win it all, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray. The reason they won it is if something were to happen with health, or like you said, if other players get too complacent with Asia Wilson.
The Golden State Valkyries, I'm going to say the reason they don't win it all is their lack of an MVP caliber player. This has been my thing. But the reason they do win it all is because they don't need MVP caliber player to constantly compete with the best teams, because they play their whole roster. They take turns and they have the energy and the 3-point shooting.
Yeah, totally agree. One thing that could kill them, lack of offensive production. Also, they've never beaten the Lynx in their franchise history, and it seems like it won't happen this year either. So if they meet them, it's kind of over. And win it all, like best defensive team in the league, best bench in the league. So they're deep.
Indiana Fever, I'm going to go with the double combo. The reason they're not going to win at all is because their defense isn't that good. Still, their defense is not that good. / if this team wins a playoff game or loses a playoff game, can you imagine the amount of media attention that is going to flood them? And can this team, like, they've done a pretty good job this season of handling that media attention and still finding ways to win, which I, for one, have been shocked by. But yeah, I think those are one of those two things: either the actual play on the court of their defense not being good enough to win a championship, or it's going to be the off the court stuff. And the reason they win it is because, let me be real, Kelsey Mitchell is doing insane things. And when you pair that with what Aaliyah Boston has the potential and ability to do, and with Caitlin Clark and what she has the potential and ability to do, and also the depths of having Timpson, of having actual, enforcers and size down low now, I think that would be the reason. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I also think injuries could play a big role in killing their season. AB and CC have struggled on that front this season, so we'll see how that goes. And like you said, win it all. These past few weeks they've shown they can go up against anyone and take them down, beat the Aces twice in a row, beat the Liberty. Like, they definitely have the tools to beat anyone. So
But can they do it? All right, moving on. The Atlanta Dream. I mean, we just listed a whole bunch of things. I guess like you could umbrella it into consistency. And the reason they win it all is because, like, all the things we listed, you have Ryan Howard, you have like Alicia Gray, Angel Reese on the rebounds. They have all the tools. They just it almost, for a really bad simile or metaphor, I guess metaphor. It's like they have the puzzle pieces, but they can't figure out how to put them together.
yeah, I no point in repeating. I agree. Yeah.
New York Liberty, I'm going to say the reason they don't win it all is coaching. I'm just going to go there and say that because the reason they could win it all is that roster.
Yeah, reason they win it all, Stewie, JJ, Sabrina, and like you said, reason they win it, like lineups, coaching decisions, and also defense.
Oh, defense. Yeah, great call. Mystics, they will not win it all because they just need more experience. They need to lose in the playoffs. And they will win it all because they don't have the experience and they have the talent. What about you?
Yeah, they will win it all because they have gone toe to toe with the best and beaten them multiple times. And like you said, Shakira Austin has been playing great. And the reason they won't is, yeah, they're young, they don't have much playoff experience, and there are better teams, I guess.
Dallas Wings, they're not going to win it all because of Enrique. No, I'm joking. But, like, there's a little bit of truth to that. No, they're not going to win it all because they're just not a consistent team. And it feels almost like they play at their best when their hand is forced. Like, they're forced to play with this lineup or they're forced to play with that lineup, not when they have their full roster and they're able to do whatever they want. That doesn't feel like when they're playing their best ball. But they will win because Paige arguably is the most clutch fourth quarter player in the league right now. And that's what you need come playoff time. What about you?
Yeah, definitely agree with why they will win. Paige Beckers, pretty simply put, she can if she takes over, like, who knows where the ceiling is. And the reason they won it, yeah, consistency, just this current drop off, it doesn't seem like the vibes are very good either. So yeah.
I'm with you. Final little thing that I want to point out before we close off for this episode is, me, I love looking at strength of schedule, remaining strength. Blah, that was a tongue twister. Remaining strength. I can't say it. You know what I mean. Minnesota Lynx and New York Liberty are the 1 and 2 team, with both teams having 8 games left. Considered Minnesota has 1 against an easy opponent, while New York has 3 against easy opponents. So obviously a little bit of difference there. But then the crazy thing to me is the next playoff team that's like on the list is Indiana at 8th. And then Atlanta, Golden State, Washington, Dallas, and Vegas rounded out from 11th to 15th. So quite interesting for me, just in the sense of seeding for Minnesota. If Minnesota, playing much harder schedule with 8 left, can hold on to that number 1 seed, and also what that means for New York, who has a really tough remaining schedule. Just some things to think about. To close out this episode, I want to thank everyone for listening and supporting independent WNBA coverage. Winsidr and other outlets have been doing this for a very long time, and it only works because of this community. So support other independent WNBA news outlets because they're doing the hard work. They're covering it, and it's not just clickbait. They care about the league. So care about them. Appreciate you, and see you next week.